What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at the Maximum Series Spider-Man. Now, was it worth the price of admission? Time will tell. But without further ado, let's check it out. Choices were made, and this was one of them. As promised, today we'll be taking a look at Maximum Spider-Man. So let's see what we've got going on. Taking a look at the package, obviously we're going off of maybe some inspiration from your import brands, right? And by maybe, I mean that's exactly what we're doing here. Think Mafex, probably SH Figuarts, that vein of style, right? Now, I can't think there's any reasonable way that Hasbro feels that they'll ever be able to compete with import brands. Import brands just have a very loyal fan base, right? And for good reason, right? Some of those figures are very fantastically made. They look really nice. I personally feel like they are more on the cost prohibitive side for what it is. You know, I just don't fancy paying $100 for a piece of plastic, right? Granted, if you look around me, there's, lots of dollars worth of plastic, but I guess, it's about building out things and not really the small displays for me, right? Whatever. Anyway, I digress. We have the figure here, lots of extra hands, some accessories, right? 3 heads all in. Does it feel like a $50 figure? From the looks of it, no. I think 4 years ago this would have been $29.99, $32.99 tops, right? Fast forward to today and we're at $49.99 for this figure. People are going to pay a lot more on the aftermarket for Spider-Man figures, right? That seems to be the going argument here. My take on that, though, is that not everybody is paying aftermarket prices, right? You have a small subsect of collectors who are paying those big prices. It's not everybody. Not everybody's in for it like that. People are probably going to pay double for this figure at some point, right? If they're already paying more than this for a loose figure or an inbox version of an older Spider-Man. So, collectors are going to do whatever they're going to do, but it's not the responsibility of us all to maintain that. But continuing with the package here, right? So Marvel Legends, Maximum Series Spider-Man. You've got the logo at the top as well. Flip it to the side. Cool image. I like what they did there. You got Spider-Man hanging, Spidey sense going. Flip it to the back. A nice, cool image of Spider-Man as well. Good design. I do like the aesthetic of the box. The artwork looks really good. Minimal in color, just highlighting the black red with a little bit of blue in there. Really balances off of Spidey there. Flip it to the side. You get a little window and then an image at the bottom. Marvel Legends at the top. Let's get him out of the box. Fresh out of the box. It's a nice figure. I think it's really going to be hard to rationalize getting this to the $49.99 price point on initial release, right? Look, I've been collecting a long time. You're going to pay up for things at some point. But I think the draw to this Marvel Legends line has always been sort of the approachability to it, right? So, Spider-Man's a popular character, right? This sold out pretty much everywhere. Maybe it'll start to pop up in stock. People are going to cancel pre-orders or whatever. We also don't know how many people just ordered 5 of these, right? So, I think time will really tell the full customer base that went after these figures. And, then we'll have to measure the market from there. It's a good figure, don't get me wrong. It looks good. You do have a lot of stuff in there. Now, I can still fit it all on this small turntable. So, Does that scream maximum to me? Not necessarily, right? I probably want some more things in there. I really even feel like just tossing in a flight stand would have given it a little bit of perceived value addition on top of what was already there. I think at the end of the day, I'm probably still at a maximum, no pun intended, $39.99 on this figure. But all of that aside, we got some good stuff here, so let's take a closer look. Moving in closer, we can get a good look at the first head sculpt and the body of Spider-Man here. Now, look, I've said a lot of negative things already. It's not going to be a negative tone video. That's just not how I do things around here. I do just need to get those things out of the way and then cover what I do like about the figure, right? Obviously, I still bought the figure. I'm not just a psychopath who buys things just for the hell of it. So there is a point to all of this. Now, I love that we went with the big eyes, right? I love Spider-Man with big eyes, that real McFarlane style design there. Not for everybody, totally understand that, but absolutely a draw for me. Everything looks really clean as far as the paint lines, the body. I do like that it is on a more slender body, right, compared to Renew Your Vows. Whether or not this is a better figure, we'll get there in a moment, but aesthetically, I mean, I do think it looks nice. It feels pretty good. In hand, does it feel different than any other Marvel Legends figure? No, it does not. I mean, it feels the same. The plastic feels the same. The overall aesthetic feels the same, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, I clearly enjoy Marvel Legends, but again, it just goes back to the offering and what we're getting there. Let's take a look at the heads. Removing the head, we can see we have the ball there, and you are on that double neck, so you do get the rotation at the bottom, and then you'll get that hinge at the top there. So that will give you a lot of movement for the head. Here is a look at the alternate masked head. So you can kind of see not like a significant difference, probably not enough difference to really warrant the alternate head. I mean, obviously you have the thicker border on the eyes, but probably what would have made people happier is if you got a smaller eyed Spidey mask to go with this, right? So kind of appeases to more audience. Here is a look at your unmasked head. Does not look nearly as bad as it did in the initial pictures and everything. I still don't really like the overall aesthetic of this head sculpt. I'm not going to display him with an unmasked head anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. This will just end up in a fodder bin, maybe used as a civilian head in displays or something. So not really a big area of concern for me. Spidey Sense will kind of slide on the unmasked head. It's not so smooth, and you're definitely going to get some scratches in your hair there. It does slide on much better on the masked heads, though. You can see, I mean, it's obviously designed for the on-mask head. It just fits perfectly there. For your hands, you do get a set of fists. You get a set of grabbing hands. You get a set of thwips. You get your wall crawlers. Now, this one's cool. I like this one a lot. Certainly my favorite set in here. So you get the thwips with the effect, right? Gives you just a cool option for your display. To use that other set of hands, it's just going to pop off at the forearm. So just pull it a little bit, it'll pop right off, and then you'll be able to port on your other set of hands. And then here's your ungloved set of hands. You can see there, I do feel like they look a little too big. Also, you probably would love to see some articulation in there. Now, it's not the first time that Hasbro has gifted us a set of forearms and hands with no articulation, right? Shocker had the same situation. So, I mean, it's not like a new idea here. It's just not a good idea. For your articulation, the head will look down to there. Chin touches the chest. Of course, you do have the point of rotation at the base of the neck, and then you do have the ball at the top of the neck. So you get a bunch of motion there, right? So you're going to love that. That's really a draw for the dynamic posing, for how you're going to be able to use this figure in your display. So I like that we have all of that going on. You do have the butterfly joints in the shoulders, which, they give you some good backward and good forward motion. You come to the back, the spider, they did go a little bit extra and give you a painted line that is a little bit deeper. So when you do have those arms forward, the legs do extend out. It's going to break on this side, but on this side, it certainly seems to stay connected. So you do have that all throughout. Upper bicep cut, of course, double jointed, pinless at the elbow. You do have that forearm, as we've seen. That does give you the ability to switch out those forearm pieces. I think something that's going to bother people probably a little bit is the red in there for the joint. It doesn't bother me at all. It is what it is. That's just part of the tooling. Upper diaphragm, right? Get that dumbbell in there. Lots of movement. So you got to love that, right? This figure is going to have a lot of options as far as the articulation. So not any complaints there. Of course, you do get that lower abdomen as well. And then nothing at the hip swivel area. Drop down hips, so you get a lot of range there. Leg does kick up to there, down and back to about there, up and out to there. Now, effectively, the Miles from the mini comic wave has basically the same articulation scheme aside from the toes, right? So again, not really a strong argument for the price point. Double jointed at the knee, boot cut, hinge and swivel at the ankle, and then your toe articulation. One thing I really do like is they did give you these creases in here, which really bring the costume to life. So I will say that is a really nice touch. A little bit more detailed than they would do normally, I feel. For comparison, here he is backed up against Renew Your Vows. So the Maximum is a darker blue. The Renew Your Vows already had sort of a deep blue to it, but in this side-by-side comparison, it does sort of brighten up the Renew Your Vows suit, which makes me like the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man even more. It's going to be tough to decide which one is really superior in this situation, but I'm still leaning towards Renew Your Vows. Now, what I like about the Maximum is the build, right? It is a more slender, little bit smaller build, which I think is a really good size for Spider-Man. So it does have that going for it, along with all of that great articulation. And here he is backed up against Pizza Spidey. So I would say if you have not upgraded since your Pizza Spider-Man, this is probably a good 1-for-1 upgrade here. Similar body styles, a little bit more slender, a little smaller. I think this might be a good trade-off for some collectors. Obviously, the suit color difference is going to be significant. Pizza Spidey, either version you have, does have a lighter blue to it compared to this Maximum, but I think body-wise, this is a good 1-for-1 trade-off. And then here he is backed up against our Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. Coming in around the same height, Amazing Fantasy just slightly shorter, but is slightly stockier in the chest. So these are roughly the same size. If you like that size of Spider-Man, then Maximum Series Spider-Man is definitely going to be for you and look good in your collection. Now, Maximum Series does give you a lot more as far as the articulation goes. Not that Amazing Fantasy was too shabby on the articulation points, but Maximum does upgrade you in a lot of areas. And finally, here he is backed up against our mini comic wave Miles Morales. So you can get an idea, especially if you're new to collecting and you're looking for your first Spider-Man and your first Miles, this is effectively how your display is going to look, right? So you've got some good height difference between the two. I feel like these pair very well. They have similar articulation schemes. Again, that's not a good argument for Maximum Series Spider-Man, but does give you the ability to really pose both of these dynamically. For your web accessories, we do get this sort of web shooting trap, right? So I like this. A lot of good posing options, especially if you're into toy photography. I think you can have a lot of fun and use with this piece here. We do get 2 web strands. Now, these are different than the ones we've received in the past, right? Like, they don't have the hook on the end. So this is an upgrade. Very malleable, very flexible plastic. So you can really use that to your advantage as well. Choices were made, and this was one of them. So there is the infamous web sperm. There was a point to this, I'm sure there was. And we get a web shield. Now, this probably pisses me off the most about anything in this entire package here, right? It's Maximum Series Spider-Man. Supposed to be getting super cool upgrades to everything. And then we still get this clip system on the shield. Could have at least thrown me an update here, that we could use for something else at some point. Not asking a lot. Same as with that Miles. I mean, it really does give you a lot of movement. I mean, you can really scrunch them into pretty much whatever pose you want. So that really is going to be the highlight of this figure, is the amount of movement that you'll be able to get out of this guy. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. There is your Maximum Series Spider-Man from Marvel Legends. Now let's circle back to that question at the beginning of the video. Is this worth the price of admission? Well, folks, that really comes down to you, right? Do you like this Spider-Man? Are you willing to pay $50 for a really good Spider-Man? Hell, some of you have probably paid more than that for an average Spider-Man figure, right? So it's going to come down to each individual. Am I happy with this purchase? I think I'm content with the purchase. I'm not excited about the prospect of paying $49.99 for a Marvel Legends figure brand new. Definitely paid more than that for an older figure trying to track it down. But for a fresh release, a new offering, I think maybe they're in over their heads a little bit on where they're going with that. I could be wrong. I could be a fool here. I don't know. But speaking as someone who has a rather large Marvel Legends collection, I think I have some idea of what I'm talking about here. Let me know, folks. Where are you on this figure? Do you like it? Are you excited about it? Are you okay with the price point? What are your thoughts? Now, I will say they did announce the Maximum Hulk, and that came in at less than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. So maybe that makes up for it, and it all averages out once you get through however many figures of this subline that you're going to get. Again, only time will tell. It's a good figure. It's a really good figure. But I just find it hard to justify the price point for a Hasbro figure. So maybe that's it. Maybe if they just didn't have that name tied to this, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I think that's the main point. Anyway, folks, that's the 2 cents. I do appreciate you checking out the video. Of course, you can always find me on any of these socials down here. Most importantly, though, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe below. And until next time, take it easy.